Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a bit of a master class on initiation. This is something where people think they get it. They think they know, oh, I just jump the first person I see, or when I'm playing Tide Hunter, the goal is to get as many targets in my Ravage as possible. But frankly, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to initiation, and people don't understand how much impact your initial jump in the fight actually has. People think like, oh yeah, I'm just stunning, right? Like, oh, my carry sucks. I stun them and my carry didn't kill them. It's my carry's fault. When often the location that you are stunning in is the problem. And so let's talk about how to fix these issues that you might not even know that you have, and just how to improve as an initiator. And by the way, that can mean as a support, that could be as a safe lane initiator, off lane, mid lane initiator. We're gonna be looking at a Dragonite off lane game, but everything you learn here can be applied to every other role and a lot of other heroes. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. All right, so in this initial fight, basically I am just a frontline tank. So for a little bit of context, in this game, I have a PA and a Coddle. I have two very heavy damage dealers who are not the initiator. So I understand that in this game, it's my job to kind of just throw my body and have an arrow follow it up. That's the general goal here. I don't need to do anything crazy. I don't need to go ham. However, the one thing I do want to note is that the main thing I shouldn't do is make my team overextend for two reasons. If I dive too deep into the backline, then what's going to end up happening is the Mirana won't be able to follow up with arrow properly, even though in this clip she actually just throws it preemptively, which, you know, is all right, it gives vision. But the bigger issue is if I dive too deep, what hero on my team is going to get screwed? It's going to be the Coddle. And that is the big thing most players don't keep in mind. They don't keep in mind how they need to enable their damage dealers. The further you go, the worse, unless you're playing with a hero like Void Spirit or Storm, in which case maybe diving the backline is a good idea. With PA, maybe it is a good idea if she has the proper items. She actually does have BKB in this upcoming fight, so I could go deeper if I felt like there was a value kill. Now, at this point in the game, I also need to determine who my highest value targets are. I would say it's most likely going to be this Lesh. I have to be careful. He does have a Bloodstone, so if he gets off the active, it's going to kind of screw us. But if we can chain stun him, that's a good target. On top of that, we do have good ways of bursting him. We have a Dagon from the Coddle and a PA, right? So we do have ways to burst. Either way, the main thing about initiation isn't, I'm not going to say it isn't usually who you jump, but it's actually more so about where you jump. So in this first fight here, I see the Snapfire. Immediately, I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe I jump the Snapfire, right? If Snapfire was here, I jump Snapfire. Why? Because it's a free kill that would completely keep my team in position. So I would jump the Snapfire. I would just take her out of the fight. It would be an easy kill with no committal. Now, I have 3 targets here, so I kind of have to make up my mind. And I will say that, no, you know, even though I am a top 30 player, I don't instantly always know who I should jump, right? I'm not going to lie to you guys, okay? I have plenty of flaws. If you watch my stream daily, you know that. You know that. So at the end of the day, I am going to look to jump here. I am going to go in and I'm going to drop the Fireball. The main reason why I drop Fireball and I don't worry too much about instantly stunning here is I know this is a bit of a deep jump, but this is a bit of a different situation. So immediately a little bit of a niche case coming out here, but I want you guys to understand it. In general, you would jump the Snapfire, okay? It's a quick kill. He does have a very important ulti in his Mortimer's Kisses, so taking him out of the fight would be pretty good. However, in this case, I see a massive opportunity to get a huge Fireball and to breathe fire. Unfortunately, I'm shit at the game, so my breathe fire doesn't hit anyone, but I go for the stun onto the Leshrac, I drop the Fireball, and I basically create a dead zone for the enemy. The biggest thing that I'm doing here is I'm creating a situation where my other heroes can jump the side lane heroes, and I can create chaos. As a hero like DK, this is a good option. As Ember Spirit, you kind of need to kite the outside of the fight if you are the initiator. But once again, as I go in here, I recognize that Roche is low. I'm going to look to go in, but don't worry, this fight keeps going. We're going to see the fight play out. Unfortunately, the Lesh does get off his disable. The Undying ends up going down in a moment here, but there's a couple of major things to note. The first major thing to note here is that all of their ultis are down. This is very important, okay? What I'm about to share with you guys here is one of the biggest things you can learn as an initiator or as a Dota player in general. What you need to keep in mind as a team fight breaks out is who has the longer cooldowns. Because even though our Undying is dead and they have all 5 heroes alive, what I can note about the enemy team is that they're kind of out of spells. Now, it doesn't mean that Leshrac doesn't do any damage and Snapfire can't do anything, but Beastmaster is kind of worthless at this point. A lot of his units have died. He doesn't have Roar. They don't have ulti from a Snap. They don't have Hand of God. Honestly, Naga is in a weird place, right? Her ulti is on cooldown. Her Manta Style is on cooldown. And so it's a weird fight for the enemy team. Yeah, my team doesn't have BKB, but the Cuddle is going to have another round of spells when his Chakra Magic comes back up. And so essentially what I'm saying is I am going to look for an opportunity to re-engage. It seems crazy, right? Because why would I re-engage? But I understood that they don't have the cooldowns. They don't have the spells that threaten me. And once again, I'm not worried about my body as much. On top of that, I understand that DK as a hero can do about, let's say 800 damage to a hero, okay? 800-900 damage to a hero. I see the Naga here. She's at a very uncomfortable 1200 HP. And as a result, if I jump her, I find the real one, and I jump her with my primarily magical damage due to my shard and Q, she's going to be in a very easy place for my team to clean her up. So that's what I do. I breathe fire to find the real one. I'm able to quickly identify the real one, drop the fireball. Unfortunately, the Snapfire cookie was used on an illusion. You know, you hate to see it. Maybe she would have ended up living. But at the end of the day, we take out Kostabil on the Naga, and it's a very good re-engage. Even if, you know, you'd be like, oh my god, you know, that only worked because of the Snapfire cookie. The idea is there, right? In a lot of cases, that's a pretty normal situation where a saving support or support with a niche save is gonna mess up, or even just forget to use it more realistically. But we end up chasing here, get another kill, the Snapfire goes down as well, Chen dies as well, and it becomes an absolute disaster. I think we were 2k ahead, but off a solid re-initiation, I carry my team. You know, like, people don't see that stuff. That's the stuff they don't see. They're like, oh my god, Coddle's owning. Yeah, Coddle is owning. My PA is owning. PA is owning this game. Like, my PA played incredible. Like, all credit due to the PA. But that re-initiation, well, first of all, the initiation in the pit allows my team to stay in position. I tanked the initial attention from the enemy team. And then the re-initiation was very, very good. It was onto one of their main damage healers. Like, if I take the Naga out of the fight, the only other hero that can do damage is Lesh. And he has to be very careful as well because his Bloodstone was down. So yeah, just a big fight. All right, getting into our next engagement here, my team is now very far ahead. The last fight we were only about, I think, 1 or 2k net worth ahead as the fight broke out, so it was an even fight, generally. And next up here, we're gonna see a bit of a high ground siege. Now, the big thing about high ground sieges is you have to identify isolated targets. In general, as an initiator, the isolated targets are what you're looking for. What I mean by isolated, if you're not too familiar with what that means, is basically people that are far away from their teammates. People who can't be saved when you go on them, or at least hero when you jump them, their team can't easily do a ton of damage to you in return. And so that is what I'm going to be looking for here. So in this fight as we siege, yes, once again, my team is very far ahead, and I have to keep in mind that the Naga is dead. So I'm actually actively looking for a jump. But once again, the reason why I'm doing this is I understand it benefits my heroes. Number 1, Naga's dead, and number 2, I have a PA and a Mirana to follow it up. If I jump deep, they will be able to help me out. So it's not like if I jump deep, then what's going to end up happening is that we just can't follow it up. As you can see here, instantly my Mirana follows me up, the PA jumps in as well, and with 5 seconds on the clock for Naga, Beastmaster goes down. And once again, yes, we are very far ahead at this point in the game, but I just want you guys to see that that was not a random jump. I'm not just diving, okay? You don't get to 9, what am I? I'm like 9.5 now. You don't get to that MMR. I know it sounds like I'm bragging, but you don't get to that MMR without like being able to make decisions based on things like that, right? Like, oh, Naga's respawning and I have heroes that can back me up. And a lot of these things sound obvious, or you might be like, oh, I know that speed, but it's also whether or not you can apply it in the game. And the way you do that is by actively thinking before team fights what your heroes need you to do. You have to think about that. If you don't, right? Let's say I have a Medusa on my team, right? I have a Medusa on my team. If I have a Medusa and I dive the back line and she doesn't have a blink, I'm just gonna die, right? But once again here, over and over again, I'm looking for isolated targets. Why do I go on the Snapfire? Well, it's honestly fine for me to go on basically everyone. I will not lie to you guys. In this exact game example, with us being 18k net worth ahead, I could jump basically anyone, it would probably go well. But the Snapfire is still a good jump. Why? Because I see the Lesh, the Naga, and the Chen on the right side. This guy is completely isolated, which means when we jump him, we're not going to be punished for it, right? It's going to be a clean jump. I get netted, that's it. And so you could still see the big thing. If I jump the Naga, which a lot of players would have, because they would have been like, oh my god, I need to kill the Naga, blah, 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 it's their core. Like, I can stun him when we can go on him with P8. Like, yeah, that's a good jump, but that Naga is much more likely to be saved. They can easily throw out, a Lesh stun, Chen heals, and so on to help him. Now, as a good example of what not to do, I'll be a little bit humble here and include this in the video. It's funny, if you say you're being humble, then you're probably not being humble. But honestly, guys, like, this is pretty funny. So my team disengages. We're backing off. Honestly, I wanted to re-engage here. I felt that with the Beastmaster being dead, we could jump. Once again, we have a very quick jump lineup. So these reinitiations are very powerful. What I mean by that is fake backing, right? Like acting like you're retreating and then jumping back in will work a huge percentage of the time. And the reason why is because when, they expect you to back, and when they think you're backing, they'll push out, they'll try to clear the creep waves and get out of their base. So you punish that. However, my team sees this Leshrac. Unfortunately, they don't end up catching him at all. They completely chase him. They commit 3 leaps. Everyone chases it. I'm like, oh, I caught the Naga, guys. So I'm like, I caught the Naga. That is why another big skill that I messed up on here, I'm usually pretty good about it, I messed up on it here, is you gotta watch your team's relative position. You have to know who your +1 is. My general +1 this game, well, honestly, I have a lot of them, I'll be frank. There's a lot of heroes that can follow me up. Brana, PA, and Coddle are all great follow-up. Even Undying to some extent is fine. But sometimes you're going to have like a Dazzle. That's not really going to be your follow-up most of the time in the mid to late game. Sometimes you're going to have, like a Wyvern. He can help you out, but he's not going to be your follow-up in a lot of times, in a lot of situations. So I end up jumping here. I'm like, oh shoot, my team is not even here. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I just straight up did not realize. I was not watching the minimap. I got too locked in on the fact that Naga was pushing out of their base, and I got locked in on the idea in my head, which is why you have to be very careful. As the initiator, you have to be careful about getting locked into ideas in your head. The main ideas that get locked in initiators' heads are, oh, I need to hit a 5-man ulti, a 4-man ulti. You know what ends up happening when you do that? You blink in, you hit a 4-man ulti, and then you realize no one can follow it up, and then you just die. And you're like, oh my god, my team sucks. I'm so good at this game. It's like, bro, congrats. You hit a 4-man ulti in a 3k MMR game. That sounds pretty toxic, but like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of how it is. I see it all the time. Like, literally see it all the time. You'll see some Earthshaker not cast Fissure for like the whole team fight when he could have just casted Fissure so that his PA could have blown someone up. Instead, he just holds it for the entirety of the fight and then ends up echoing when his team is already dead. And it's like, all right, great. And as a bit of a good last fight here, just to really focus on the fundamentals of this video, we're just going to see a very clean Beastmaster jump. The idea here was that I'm looking at my teammates. Once again, I'm paying very close attention to who's respawning, guys. I know most of you don't do this. You might tell yourself you do. You need to look at who's alive and dead. Up here, look at it. Who's alive and who's dead, right? Please look at it. Otherwise, you're going to lose games. So here, I'm like, okay, my team isn't really alive. All I'm going to look to do here is generally throw out breathe fires. Maybe, and I mean maybe, if someone really overextends, I will jump them. Why? Because I do have the Coddle follow-up. But primarily, as I get silenced and netted by the Naga, primarily what I'm looking to do is simply stall. However, look at how fast I switch when someone isolates themselves. I'm not gonna lie, guys, this is why I am high MMR and you're not. Because you have to, like, once again, I'm not perfect about these things, but on average, I'm going to be very, very fast when it comes to someone throwing themselves out of position. My ability, how much time I've spent studying this game and playing this game, has allowed me to essentially identify what is out of position and what is not. And once again, the main way you identify that is, are they far away from their teammates? Okay, this isn't always the case, because sometimes if you jump a position 5 and the enemy team has like a Storm and a PA, you might die anyway. This game, they definitely do not have backline jump heroes, which is important to note. So if someone overextends, it's shitty. Also, from the perspective of Beastmaster, this guy is rank 300. He's quite significantly worse than me. this guy makes the mistake, which I have personally not made this game, except for the Naga jump, which I know people are gonna hate me. I like talking this way and like being a little bit pompous because it kind of shows like the differences between gameplay. But I know people are gonna get like a little bit pissed that I'm being so, I guess, braggy. It doesn't matter. The point is that when this guy jumps, who can follow it up? He finds the cuddle. This on paper is a fantastic jump, right? On paper, it's like, he found our squishy mid laner, high DPS squishy mid laner. You can't really jump a better target on our team this game. This is his best jump, I would argue. However, what's the dilemma? It can't be followed up. Why? This guy's blink is on cooldown. This guy's getting kicked out of the base. And yeah, you could snap our ulti, but that's not bursting anyone 40 minutes into the game. It's unlikely. And so that's the problem. That is the problem. They get this really solid roar, but now I'm able to eventually force staff my Coddle. I force staff him here just because I was a little bit afraid of him dying to the Mortimer's Kisses, and I knew he had a BKB, so he could disengage even though it pushed him forward. I felt confident that his BKB would save him. Yes, that was once again intentional. And then this guy's now out of position. So what seems like such a good jump, a guy who can win tier 8 battle cups, and I'm sure he's a very talented player. This is a 0.01% player, but we make mistakes like this. I make that mistake sometimes too, once again, but you have to see that that is a mistake. Right? And you know, like, I fully understand why he jumps, because that jump is good, but that jump is maybe like a jump that's a difference between an 8 and a 9k player on average. Not always, but on average. Okay? That shit can happen and it can throw the game. And yeah, in that case, it kind of did, right? Our PA was dead and they still lost the team fight, and it was primarily because of the initiation. If he waited for the Lesh Blink to come up, or he went when his team could follow up, it could have been a different fight. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. He got over anxious and he lost. On top of that, they're 12k net worth behind. So arguably, if the game was a little bit closer, maybe my Coddle does die. But that's another thing to think about, right? You're not obviously going to have a lot of games where you're losing. I do too. And in those games, you really need to make sure you're playing around wards and finding clean jumps. Because if you don't, there's no way you're going to win the team fight. You want to be doing that when you're winning anyway. But when you're losing, you really got to make sure your jumps are clean. Otherwise, the fight kind of just ends. But alright, that's going to be the end of today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned a lot. I know this is some really advanced stuff, but hopefully you guys kind of feel inspired and motivated to be like, wow, there's a lot I don't know, or there's a lot that maybe I do know, but I'm not implementing into my games, and I need to take time, right? Implementing what I'm teaching you, this is the type of video where it's going to take, you know, a year for you to get better at this shit. And I know people don't want to hear that. I know I shouldn't even honestly say that in the video, but like, I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to be honest with you guys, and like, that's how it feels. So nonetheless, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. And that's all. But remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.